And then it shades into what's the post-war world going to be like? What sort of world is Timothy going to grow up in? And you get an early version of the welfare state, the Labour victory, it's going to be a better world, why were we fighting, and all that. And I find it unbelievably moving, that part of the film, partly because a lot of the promises haven't come true.
And I think the fact that the characters in Diary for Timothy who are chosen, the miner, the engine driver, the farmer, are workers with their hands. They're being given that respect, as they are throughout Jennings. They're coming into their own. And of course, it is an extraordinary transformation from the 1930s. Working-class figures in films in the 1930s were invariably comic. I mean, there were almost no serious working-class figures at all.
Absent friends.
During the war, in Jennings's films, you get proper respect being paid to working-class people for the first time.
Oh, well, absent friends. Absent friends.
Absent friends.
Absent friends. Absent friends.
Absent friends.
I'm a year older than Timothy. He was born sort of 18 months after me, so we're about the same age. And I am fascinated to know what happened to him, actually. I mean, he could have been a hippie in the 60s, I have to point out. Is he in prison or is he dead? I mean, it's fascinating because when you watch the film, you constantly want the narration somehow to talk about the 60s and talk about the 1990s and project the future.
Are you going to have greed for money or power, ousting decency from the world as they have in the past? Or are you going to make the world a different place? You and the other babies.
None of the half-dozen documentaries Jennings made after the war come near to having the artistry, passion, or analysis of his great wartime works. In the post-war years, he appears to have been a man cut adrift.
After the war, he tried to select those movies he believed in, but alas, he didn't quite know what he believed in himself.
I'm sure he hoped to get out of films. I feel he wanted to get out of films. He was never able to make the films that he wanted to make. He wanted to make a film of Far From the Madding Crowd.
Now, that would have been interesting, but I doubt if he would have ever got it together. The war was what he needed. He just ran out of steam. I mean, I think that he's probably was ashamed of being a filmmaker. Lots of people are. And wanted to be a painter, which is silly.
My father was asked to make a film, The Good Life, about health improvement in Europe. And he filmed in Switzerland, I think in Italy, and in Greece. And he went to Greece in September, 50 years ago, and began to shoot in Athens.
I was sitting at my desk at the British Film Institute, and the phone rang. And it was a call from Greece saying, Humphrey's dead. And I couldn't believe it. I said, what happened? Was he shot? And they said, no, he had an accident. He fell. I said, fell? What the hell fell? We don't know where he fell. He fell. And of course, eventually, it is reported that he fell over a cliff.
I came home that Sunday evening, and as I walked upstairs to our flat, the phone was ringing, and I went into my parents' bedroom and answered it, and it was Ian Dalrymple asking to speak to my mother. And I went into the sitting room and said, Ian's on the phone. And she went into the other room, and there was a terrible cry. It was like something out of a Greek tragedy. I sort of never forget it. It was absolutely appalling. And that's how we heard.
I think the secret of Jennings' success is his extraordinary visual imagination, his wide cultural reference, and his ability to capture ordinary people in an unpatronising way. When you bring all those things together, you have a unique vision of a nation and its history. He understood and explained England and Englishness better than almost anyone else in cinema. And at a time when the English identity is in crisis, I think that his films need to be looked at to tell us who we are and where we're going.